Hi everyone, welcome back. This is my third video in my video series about solution-focused therapies and what they're all about. I'm Angie Hayes of Angie Hayes Therapy. So in this video, I'm going to cover solution-focused couples therapy and what actually that aims to do and what it's all about. So let's start by covering a few facts that you may not be aware of, which might be of interest to you. When I did some research on this, I was quite surprised by some of the things I found. The first one, the number one reason why a lot of guys, you men out there, and some women, but mainly guys, really shy away from couples therapy is because you are so tired, so tired of going over the same problem again and again, and you can't see that there's any benefit that therapy can bring. And that I totally see it. I can get it. I really can. Which is why the whole name is in the title, solution focused. Another thing I found was that if somebody's been cheating, if one of you has been cheating, the person who's been cheating really struggles with the idea of coming for therapy because they feel that the therapist is going to side with the person who hasn't been cheated upon. And that's really not the case. We're not here to judge. We're here to get your relationship back on track by moving away from whatever's happened and work towards what it is you both want going forward. And the other interesting thing I found, which I thought was quite sad really, was that it takes an average of 6 years before a couple will seek help with the problem. An average of 6 years for a lot of couples. Just imagine all of the resentment and pain that's built up in the relationship over that time. That's actually, it can be quite sad because it's created such a divide between you that it can be very difficult for the relationship to bounce back from all of that after such a long time. So it's good that we think about couples therapy as a proactive measure. And as something that is preventative before things get too out of hand and too silly. So what the important thing for me, and I say this to a lot of clients, and it's whether you're an individual or you're coming to me as a couple, is life doesn't come with a handbook. We're not born knowing this stuff. So we have to negotiate our way through it with a better understanding of ourselves and what's important to us and why we are kind of getting into hot water in our relationships in the first place. What is going on that's making us feel uncomfortable, and understanding ourselves so that we can articulate why we're getting uncomfortable. So of course, if you've seen in the other videos, you'll know that this is a very future focused approach. And it's focused on outcome and what you want. And yeah, you might both come with a completely different idea of what that outcome is. That's fine. Let me give you a really brilliant example of this. My absolute mentor, I have been mentored and coached by Elliot Connie, but he is the absolute guru out there for solution-focused couples therapy. He's created his whole approach, and I learnt my approach from him. And I was actually schooled in solution-focused brief therapy by him and other people at Brief International. But he is the absolute guru in solution-focused couples therapy. And he had an example of a couple that came into his therapy room, and he asked the wife, "What are your best hopes from us working together?" And she said, "I want to have another baby." And the husband said, "Over my dead body." So here we have a real conundrum, don't we? How are you going to solve that problem? One person wants a baby, the other person doesn't want a baby. So he asked the wife, "What difference would that make to you if you had another child?" And she said, "I was an only child. I don't want my son to be an only child. I want him to have a sibling. And I feel, as I'm a religious person, I feel it was God's purpose for me to be a mother, and I want to continue to be a mother and have another child." I said, "Fine." So he turned to the husband and said, "And what difference would it make to you if you didn't have a baby?" And the husband talked then about how he had started his own business quite recently. He was barely making enough money to support the three of them, let alone another child. He was very stressed out at work and all of these other things. So basically, he wanted to be free of that stress. And that was what was driving him to go, oh, not because he didn't want another child, but because he couldn't see the way forward to having another child. After going through 2 or 3 sessions of therapy, Elliot didn't hear from them for a while. And they emailed him a year or 2 later to say that they had had twin boys. So you see, this isn't about delving into the problem and finding a solution that way. It's about you coming together as a couple, getting away from the issue that's brought you into therapy and getting back into getting back into the understanding of the relationship that you want. You know, you guys came together for a reason. Whether you're in a same-sex relationship or a heterosexual relationship, it doesn't matter. You came together for a reason. There was something in that person that you saw above everyone else that made you want to have a committed relationship with them. Things that you admired about them, things that you love about them. You've got shared values, you've got common interests, and a problem erupts in a relationship and you lose sight of all of that. And you stop focusing on problems together and you start taking positions and you start arguing about the problem and it gets really out of hand. I've seen some absolutely ridiculous behavior. No, seriously. Of loving people who absolutely, I can see, love one another so much and they're creating so much pain for themselves by taking silly positions where they've gotten scared or frightened or they don't trust the other person when they should. And you wouldn't have gotten with that person if you didn't trust them, would you? You're just so down on one another that you're just withdrawing from one another. And we need to get you back and connected to who you are in your relationship and what your relationship is about. And that's all we seek to do with solution-focused couples therapy. We are not going to talk through the problem and who said what and who's done what and any of that. For sure, we'll acknowledge that the problem is there, but we want to move past that because you've probably talked about it so many times and got nowhere with it, haven't you? So that's not the answer, is it? So is it successful for everyone? Well, it can, in most cases, it absolutely is. It's 80% successful. What about the other 20%? Well, maybe just think about it like this. If you come here with a different agenda to the other person, it's not going to work. And what I mean by that is, quite often where infidelity is concerned, and I will do a video on infidelity in a lot more detail, I get asked a lot, can a relationship overcome infidelity? And the answer is yes, it most certainly can. But you both have to want the relationship to work. And sometimes where infidelity is present, one party does not want the relationship to work. They actually want out. But what can happen as a result of going through this process is that you can realize in a balanced and sensible way that actually you don't have shared values. And what you want from the relationship and what you want to feel and experience in a relationship, you are not going to get with the person you are sat in the room with. And that realization can actually be really, really beneficial for you because it means you can go and live your life in the way you were intended to live it and not living it constrained by what you're getting because you're too fearful to move away from that. I just want to end by saying, you know, or around this subject, because it is quite an emotive subject. If you're in a relationship that's not serving you, you've got to ask yourself why. Here he is. He hates change. He perceives it as a threat. He have a meltdown at change. Doesn't like it. He likes the known and the comfortable. But the known and the comfortable isn't always the happy place where you are thriving and you are in love and you are being loved in the way you deserve to be loved. So just think about that, my little darlings. I'll leave you with that thought. I hope that's helped you to understand what therapy is about in terms of couples. And I will see you in another video really soon. It could be on sports performance. There'll be a lot more on relationships, a lot more on all sorts of stuff like phobias and PTSD and trauma and all that. But until then, I'm signing off and saying goodbye and take very good care until next time. Mwah. Bye for now.